Iuno is finally here in the second phase of version 2.6 and she's absolutely cracked as a hypercarry due to the 40% damage amplification that she can provide to herself from her Fortress circuit, and a small portion of that can also be given to all teammates when using niche team comps that features Tao Chi and Jing Xin, who can provide shields. She can also act as a suitable buffer for heavy attack focused main damage dealers like Augusta, Jian, but not so much for Zani per my testing if you're interested in how she performs in such team compositions. If it's your first time here, welcome to Iuno's character breakdown video, which belongs to the character breakdown series where we build and test your favorite resonators to provide you with the most effective way to use them in Wuthering Waves. Before we proceed any further, I want you guys to keep in mind that every footage used in this video was captured on the media server, so things may be subject to change upon official release. The pinned comment will be updated to clarify anything in the future, so without further ado, let's get right into it. Fortress circuit. Iuno's playstyle revolves around building up these 40 stacks, as you can see right here, and there are different ways to do that, including how the game wants you to play her and other ways that you can abuse it to boost her damage even further. But let's start with the simple stuff first. In her normal state where nothing is really happening, performing 3 basic attacks will give you access to an enhanced skill, as you can see right here. You can also get the enhanced skill with an intro skill which gives you 40% of her 40 stacks, just like so. The last method is by just pressing her normal skill in her normal state, as you can see right here. Now that we're familiar with all the methods of getting the enhanced skill, let's see what it actually does. Using it will allow Iuno to start the lunar cycle, which is just a fancy term for a 15 seconds duration in which she can switch between 2 different states called half moon and new moon. Upon using the enhanced skill, she gains about 25% of her 40 stacks and enters the half moon state, which you can easily see by the blue aura that seems like she's underwater, your jump button getting modified, and this special indicator right here that shows the 15 seconds duration until you can no longer use the lunar cycle. The half moon state is just meant to generate 40 stacks by just spamming basic attacks, as you can see right here. This will be perfect for overworld exploration so that you can easily get stacks without intro skills and liberation. Speaking of liberation, using it will provide 60% of our 40 stacks, as you can see right here. And the best part is that it activates the lunar cycle just like how you would do it with your enhanced skill, meaning that using the liberation sends you straight into the half moon state. While in the half moon state, with any amount of 40 stacks, press jump and Iuno will enter the new moon state. This is the state for doing damage by consuming the 40 stacks that she has obtained. You can do damage by spamming basic attacks and using her special skill that has 2 charges. The full string of her basic attacks in this state will consume exactly 50% of her 40 stacks, and each skill cast will consume 25% of her 40 stacks. With the basics out of the way, let's see how you can properly manage your 40 stacks. You can fully generate them with an intro skill and liberation, as you can see right here. This will be the simplest way to get them for sub DPS Iuno, but let's get a bit more advanced to dish out more damage as a sub DPS without taking too much field time. To increase your team's overall damage output, you need to intro, enhance skill, jump, skill to do damage, and liberation. You can see that I've been able to do damage with this skill and still manage to get full 40 stacks ready to dish out damage once again. The main goal is to not spend too much precious time doing basic attacks in the half moon state to recover 40 stacks, and this applies to hypercarry Iuno as well, but I'll save that for the rotation section of this video. When your concerto energy is full, after consuming the 40 stacks, hold your basic attack button and Iuno will summon a full moon domain. When any party member gains a shield while the domain is active, they get 4% all type damage amplification up to 10 times, and each stack lasts for 10 seconds. meaning that they'll need to refresh their shields like Augusta and Iuno because of these inherent passives that they have to get all the 40% damage amplification. But for Iuno, she doesn't need the full moon domain to be able to gain the stacks that gives her all the 40% damage amplification because of this passive right here. All she needs to do is to use an intro skill and liberation to gain all the 10 stacks needed to give you the 40% damage amplification. But do keep in mind that as a hyper carry, she does require the full moon domain to constantly refresh the buff. Other teammates that are capable of regenerating shields for the entire team can activate this effect, because keep in mind that it doesn't necessarily need to be the character that is on the field. So for example, my Shangli-Ya was doing 1832 damage with basic attack and 106,165 with his liberation. But after Zhengzhen activated her shields 4 times in the full moon domain, providing up to 16% damage amplification, his basic attack was doing 1905 and liberation was doing 110,411, which means that all we need is a unit that can constantly refresh shields from off field, and everyone can basically take advantage of the 40% damage amplification. But at the moment, it's not worth it to build teams with Iuno around shielders like Taoqi, Zhengzhen, or even Brent because of the small amount of damage amplification that you can get, which lasts for a very short amount of time due to the inability to constantly refresh the shields like Augusta and Iuno. Team options. Iuno has quite a lot of teams to choose from. The first one is the Hypercarry Iuno team, which is my personal favorite, including Iuno, Zhengzhen, and Showkeeper or Verena. Zhengzhen provides 38% liberation damage amplification, which adds up to the 40% that Iuno can already get from her Forte circuit to do some pretty insane damage. The second team is the Sun and Moon team, featuring Showkeeper or Verena, Iuno, and Augusta. This will be Augusta's best team composition compared to the Mortefi team. The damage difference between the two teams from Augusta alone was not that significant, but the high damage output from Iuno contributed to a significant difference in clear time of about 11 seconds. The third team is the Jian Iuno team composition. The damage output from Jian alone was low compared to the Mortefi team, as you can see right here from the Qinglong basic attacks, but the clear times was noticeably better for the Iuno team because of her high damage output. The fourth team will be Zani, Phoebe, and Iuno team composition. Crit rate was a bit of an issue since we lacked Showkeeper, but the damage output from Nightfall, for example, was surprisingly low compared to the Showkeeper team, as you guys can see right here. This team is also a bit complicated due to Moonlit being on Phoebe, so you always have to double intro to Zani within a very short amount of time for Zani to get the Moonlit buffs from Phoebe and the heavy attack damage amplification from Iuno. So I recommend sticking to the Showkeeper or Spectre Rover, Phoebe, and Zani team comp for now until I can do more testing with the Zani Iuno team composition. Build. If you cannot afford a signature weapon, here are your list of alternatives in terms of best in damage output. First priority will be Verity's Handle due to the crit rate substat, and it provides liberation damage bonus from the passive. Iuno can easily refresh the liberation damage bonus buff duration by using her special skill in the new moon state while doing damage after casting her liberation. So the 48% liberation damage bonus basically has no restrictions. Second priority will be Blazing Justice, which has crit damage as a substat and pairs well with the crit rate on Iuno's skill tree. The 8% defense ignore is also not that hard to activate. You simply need to cast basic attacks whether in half moon or new moon states, and it will be made available to her. Third priority will be Tragic Comedy, mainly as a crit rate statistic because Iuno's damage is not heavily focused on heavy attack damage. Abyss Surges should be the last 5-star option among the recommended weapon alternatives due to the lack of crit rate and crit damage substat, but feel free to use it if that's the only 5-star weapon option that you have on your account. If you don't have any 5-star weapon, the Battle Pass or the Pioneer Podcast weapons are an option that you can consider, but do keep in mind that they are not as good as 5 stars due to the low base attack. I recommend Ether Strike if you have to choose between that and Stoneard due to the crit rate focused echo that you can run along with it, resulting in more overall crit rate compared to Stoneard. If you cannot get the Battle Pass weapons either, I want you to use Celestial Spiral as a placeholder until you can get your hands on a 5-star weapon. For echoes, you should be using 3-piece Crown of Valor and any 2-piece set that provides area damage bonus, but I highly recommend Sierra Gil because it's an old Sonata effect, so you should have a lot of pieces lying around. Focus will be crit rate or crit damage Lady of the Sea, depending on what substat that you have on your weapon. So if you have a crit rate substat, go with crit damage and vice versa. 3 cost will be double area damage bonus because Iuno gains 30% attack from the Crown of Valor 3-piece Sonata effect. The 1 cost will be attack percentage as usual. Your stats priority will be crit rate, crit damage, liberation damage bonus, and energy regen. Talent priority will be Forte Circuit, liberation, skill, normal attacks, and intro skill. For energy regen, prioritize 115% or more. Rotations. Let's begin with the Sun and Moon team, and then I'll move on to the Hypercarry team. Here's the build that I'll be running on all teammates. We first start with Showkeeper as usual, spam basic attacks to use her heavy attack, but be sure to dash cancel to speed up the process. I kept moving around here to find a good position to group the enemies with the heavy attacks because these enemies can split up very easily. When you have at least 75% of her concerto filled up, use her liberation and echo skill, intro with Iuno, and use her enhanced skill. Now jump, skill, and use her liberation to fully regenerate her 40 stacks. Skill, and basic attack until your 40 stacks are depleted. Hold basic attack, echo skill, and intro with Augusta. Hold basic attack and release. Keep spamming basic attack here until you have all the 5 stacks of the buff that a weapon provides. This is meant to help fix resonance energy issues if she has less than 110% energy regen. Now, use your normal liberation, skill, hold basic attack and release to get the resonance energy that it provides. Now, use her skill, basic attack 2 times and hold the liberation. Simply spam basic attacks until the special animation ends, echo skill, intro with Showkeeper, and rinse repeat. Here's the build that I'll be running for the Hypercarry team composition. Zhengzin is currently S1, but the rotation that I'm going to cover will work even if she's S0 without the Marcato Gauntlet that provides additional concerto energy. You first start with Showkeeper skill, then swap to Iuno and press her skill 2 times. Use your Echo for grouping if you need it, and swap to Zhengzin to perform basic attacks, which should start from stage 2 up to the last stage. Then use our liberation and skill. Back to Showkeeper, basic attack and heavy attack, but swap to Zhengzin to spam attacks once again. Just think of the Showkeeper heavy attacks as your signal to swap to Zhengzin and spam basic attacks to help her outro quickly. For those with S1, you can simply intro, spam basic attacks until you have full 40 stacks, and then hold basic attack to charge her shields, which should also regenerate a large amount of concerto energy for her to outro quickly from the field. Now let's get back to the rotation that will work for everyone. After the Zhengzin second basic attack spam, go to Showkeeper and use her liberation when you have regenerated more than 75% of her concerto energy. Echo skill and intro with Zhengzin. Basic attack to fully fill her concerto energy, echo skill, and intro with Iuno. Use her enhanced skill and basic attack twice to fully fill her 40 stacks. Jump, press skill 2 times, basic attack once, and use her liberation. Now we have full 40 stacks again to dish out damage, so all you need to do is keep spamming basic attacks from here. Keep in mind that you can squeeze in some additional basic attacks and even the skill when her 40 stacks are completely exhausted, as you can see right here, because of her short field time as a hypercarry compared to other main damage dealers. But make sure you don't lose Showkeeper's liberation. Now heavy attack to summon the full moon domain and press her skill twice, just like we did at the beginning of the rotation. Intro with Showkeeper, and now rinse and repeat. Sequences. Keep in mind that Iuno does not need sequences to fix anything wrong with her kit design per my testing, so she's fine at S0. But for those interested in sequences, my best recommendation will be S2, which not only buffs her personal damage, but other units like Augusta who can refresh shield. And the fact that the damage amplification is universal creates a high possibility that new units will most likely be able to benefit from it by having the ability to refresh shields or refresh shields for other teammates to receive the buff. That'll be all for my Iuno character breakdown. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to help support the channel because it's free and you can always change your mind. Our Discord link will be in the pinned comment if you're having any issues with the game or you just want a place to chill or hang out. If you also have any questions, be sure to reach out to me on the Discord or in the comment section below. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.